The morning alarm echoed through Haven Station as Jake Morrison rolled out of his narrow bunk. The captain stretched his tired muscles and looked out the small window at the rocky surface of Series 7. 3 years on this asteroid, and he still missed the blue skies of Earth. Jake pulled on his uniform and walked down the metal corridors toward the command center. The station hummed with activity as the day shift began. Miners prepared their equipment while families sent their children off to school in the habitat domes. It was a good life, even if it was far from home. "Morning, Captain," said Kate Williams as Jake entered the command center. The communications officer was already at her station, monitoring the long-range sensors. "Everything looks quiet today. No ships in the area." Jake nodded and poured himself coffee from the machine in the corner. The bitter taste reminded him of Earth, though this synthetic version was not quite the same. "Any word from home?" "The monthly supply ship should arrive next week," Kate replied. "They're bringing new mining equipment and some fresh food supplies. My daughter Emma is excited about the chocolate they promised to bring." Lisa Brooks walked into the command center carrying a data pad. The station administrator looked tired but pleased. "Good morning, Jake. The mining reports from yesterday are excellent. We're ahead of schedule on the quantum mineral extraction." "That's great news," Jake said. "Earth needs those minerals for the new ships they're building." Haven Station was home to 847 people. Most were miners and their families, but there were also scientists, engineers, and teachers. Dr. Sam Parker ran the science lab where he studied the strange microorganisms they found in the asteroid's ice deposits. His work might one day help humans survive on other worlds. The station had been built inside a large crater on Series 7. Thick metal walls and force fields protected the inhabitants from the harsh vacuum of space. The artificial gravity generators made it feel almost like home, though the low setting took some getting used to. Jake's Marine unit consisted of 23 soldiers. It was a small force, but they were well trained and equipped with the latest weapons. Their job was to protect the station and its people. So far, they had never faced any real threats. The biggest dangers were equipment failures and mining accidents. The Tau Ceti system was on the edge of human space. Earth had claimed it 5 years ago, but they had found no signs of intelligent alien life. The scientists back home said the galaxy was probably empty except for primitive organisms. Jake hoped they were right. After breakfast, Jake made his daily rounds through the station. He visited the mining levels where workers operated massive drilling machines. The quantum minerals they extracted were rare and valuable. These crystals made faster than light travel possible, allowing human ships to cross vast distances in days instead of years. In the habitat domes, children played in the parks while their parents worked. The domes were designed to look like Earth, with grass, trees, and even a small lake. It helped people feel less homesick during their long assignments. Jake stopped by the school to visit his friend Tony Garcia, who taught the older children. "How are they doing?" Jake asked. "They're good kids," Tony replied. "Smart too. Little Amy Ross wants to be a starship pilot when she grows up. She knows more about navigation than some of my academy graduates." The science lab was Jake's next stop. Dr. Parker was examining samples under a microscope when the captain arrived. "Find anything interesting today, Sam?" "Always," the scientist smiled. "These organisms are fascinating. They can survive in conditions that would kill anything from Earth. Nature is amazing." In the communications center, Kate was monitoring signals from deep space. Most of what they picked up was just background radiation and pulsar signals. Sometimes they heard transmissions from other human colonies, though those were rare at this distance. "Captain," Kate said, "I'm getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors. Probably just a solar storm, but thought you should know." Jake looked at the display. The readings did look unusual, but space was full of weird phenomena. "Keep an eye on it. Let me know if anything changes." The afternoon brought the usual routine of maintenance and training. Jake's Marines practiced combat drills in the station's gym. They were prepared for emergencies, though everyone hoped they would never be needed. The closest thing to a real threat was when a mining accident had trapped some workers last year. Dinner was served in the main cafeteria, where the whole community gathered. Families sat together while friends caught up on the day's events. Children laughed and played between the tables. It reminded Jake of small towns back on Earth. Lisa Brooks stood up to make an announcement. "I'm happy to report that our productivity is up 15% this month." Earth Command has sent a message congratulating everyone on their hard work. They're also sending a bonus supply shipment with some special treats for the children. The crowd cheered and applauded. Life on Haven Station was not easy, but it was rewarding. These people were pioneers, building humanity's future among the stars. After dinner, Jake walked through the observation deck. Through the large windows, he could see the vast emptiness of space. Stars twinkled in the distance, and somewhere among them was Earth. He wondered what his family was doing right now, 11 light years away. Ben Walsh, one of his lieutenants, joined him at the window. "Peaceful night, sir." "Yes, it is," Jake replied. "Sometimes I wonder what we're really doing out here. Mining minerals, studying bugs, sending reports back to Earth. Are we making a difference?" "I think so," Ben said. "My grandfather was a pioneer on Mars. He used to tell me that every frontier starts small. A few brave people willing to go where no one has gone before. We're the first humans in this star system. That has to count for something." Jake smiled. "You're right. We're not just mining asteroids. We're expanding human civilization. Future generations will remember what we did here." As the night shift took over, Jake returned to his quarters. He wrote a letter to his wife back on Earth, telling her about the day's events. The message would take almost 12 years to reach her, but it made him feel connected to home. Outside his window, the stars continued their ancient dance. Space was vast and mostly empty, but it was also full of possibilities. Humanity was just beginning to explore the galaxy, and places like Haven Station were the first steps in that great journey. Jake fell asleep thinking about the future, unaware that tomorrow would bring visitors from across the stars. Visitors who had very different ideas about humanity's place in the galaxy. The alarm started screaming at 0347 station time. Jake Morrison bolted upright in his bed as red lights flashed throughout his quarters. Emergency alarms meant only one thing: immediate danger to the station. Jake grabbed his uniform and weapon, racing through the corridors toward the command center. Other people were running too, some in pajamas, all looking confused and frightened. The automated voice kept repeating, "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Kate Williams was already at her post when Jake burst into the command center. Her face was pale as she stared at the sensor displays. "Captain, you need to see this. We have 47 ships coming out of hyperspace. Big ones." Jake looked at the main screen and felt his blood turn cold. Dozens of massive warships were materializing around Series 7. They were unlike any human vessels he had ever seen. The ships were dark and angular, with weapon ports glowing ominously along their hulls. "Have they responded to our hails?" Jake asked. "I've been trying to contact them for 10 minutes, Kate replied. "They're not answering." "Sir, these ships, they're not human." Lisa Brooks ran into the command center, still in her nightgown. "Jake, what's happening?" "People are panicking in the habitat domes." Before Jake could answer, the largest alien ship opened fire. Brilliant energy beams lanced out and struck Haven Station's outer shields. The entire asteroid shook from the impact and sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Shields down to 60%. Ben Walsh shouted from his station. "They're charging weapons for another attack." Jake hit the general alarm. "All hands, this is Captain Morrison. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Execute evacuation protocol immediately. All civilians to the escape pods. Marines to defensive positions." The station shuddered again as more energy beams struck the shields. Emergency lighting kicked in as main power fluctuated. Through the observation windows, Jake could see the alien fleet moving into attack formation. Dr. Parker burst into the command center carrying a portable computer. "Captain, I'm reading their weapon signatures. These energy patterns are completely unknown. The power levels are enormous. Can you get a message to Earth?" Jake asked Kate. "I'm trying," she replied, fingers flying over her controls. "The aliens are jamming most frequencies, but I might be able to punch through with a quantum burst transmission." Lieutenant Ryan Cole's voice crackled over the radio from the patrol ship UES Guardian. "Station control, this is Guardian. I'm moving to intercept the lead ship." "Negative, Guardian," Jake ordered. "You're outnumbered 47-1. Fall back and assist with the evacuation." "Sorry, Captain, but I can't do that. These bastards want to fight, they'll get one." The Guardian, humanity's single combat ship in the system, accelerated toward the alien fleet. It was a brave but hopeless gesture. The small patrol vessel fired its missiles at the nearest enemy ship, but the alien shields absorbed the explosions without damage. 3 alien fighters broke formation and surrounded the Guardian. Energy beams tore through its hull and the ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Ryan Cole and his crew of 4 were gone in seconds. Guardian is down, Ben Walsh reported quietly. No survivors. The alien fleet moved closer, their weapons charging for a concentrated assault. Jake could see smaller ships launching from the main vessels. Boarding craft heading straight for Haven Station. In the habitat domes, families were running toward the escape pod bays. Parents carried crying children while teachers tried to keep groups together. The evacuation was proceeding as planned, but Jake knew there would not be enough time. Kate, what about that message to Earth? Almost there, she said. I'm compressing all our sensor data about the alien ships. Their weapons, their tactics, everything we've learned. Dr. Parker handed her a data crystal. Include this. It has detailed scans of their technology. Earth needs to know what they're facing. The station shook violently as the alien bombardment intensified. Sections of the outer hull began to rupture, venting atmosphere into space. The artificial gravity flickered, making everyone feel momentarily weightless. Jake's Marines were taking positions throughout the station. They had trained for boarding actions, but against this many enemies, they could only hope to buy time for the evacuation. Sergeant Dana Cruz reported from the main airlock. Captain, we've got incoming boarding pods. At least 20 of them. They'll breach the hull in 2 minutes. Hold them as long as you can, Jake ordered. Every minute gives more civilians a chance to escape. Kate looked up from her console. Message is ready to transmit. All our data about the attack, plus a full record of what happened here. Send it, Jake said. Make sure Earth knows these aliens struck without warning. No communication, no demands, no mercy. The quantum transmission burst toward Earth at faster than light speed. It would take almost 12 years to arrive, but at least humanity would eventually learn the truth about what happened at Haven Station. The first alien boarding pod smashed through the station's hull. Jake could hear weapons fire echoing through the corridors as his Marines engaged the invaders. The aliens were tall and reptilian, with advanced armor and energy weapons that cut through human defenses. Lisa Brooks was coordinating the evacuation from the pod bays. We've got most of the children away, she reported, but the aliens are moving toward the escape routes. More explosions rocked the station as alien forces advanced through the corridors. Jake's Marines fought bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered. One by one, their positions fell to the invaders. Dr. Parker was still at his computer, trying to transmit additional data to Earth. An energy beam burst through the command center wall, and the scientist cried out as he was struck. He collapsed but kept working, his fingers barely able to reach the controls. They came without provocation, he gasped into the communication system. They showed no mercy. Remember us. The command center's main door exploded inward. Alien soldiers poured through, their weapons raised. Jake drew his pistol and fired, hitting one of the invaders in the chest. The alien's armor absorbed the impact, and return fire knocked Jake to the ground. Kate Williams was trying to delete the station's computer files to keep them from alien hands. An energy beam struck her console, and she screamed as electricity coursed through her body. She slumped forward, unconscious or dead. Ben Walsh fought hand-to-hand with an alien soldier near the main display. The lieutenant was strong and well-trained, but the alien was stronger. Clawed hands closed around Ben's throat, and his struggle ended. Jake tried to crawl toward his weapon, but alien boots appeared in front of his face. He looked up to see a massive reptilian creature in ornate armor. This one seemed to be their leader, with decorative markings and a more elaborate helmet. The alien leader spoke in a harsh, clicking language. Jake could not understand the words, but the tone was clear: contempt and satisfaction. These creatures had come to destroy Haven Station, and they were succeeding. Throughout the station, the last pockets of resistance were being eliminated. The evacuation pods that had managed to launch were being hunted down by alien fighters. Energy beams tracked them across space, destroying them one by one. Lisa Brooks died protecting a group of children in Escape Pod Bay 3. Sergeant Cruz fell defending the main corridor. Dr. Parker transmitted his final message before an alien weapon silenced him forever. In the habitat domes, the artificial atmosphere was venting into space as the aliens methodically destroyed life support systems. The carefully maintained gardens and parks where children had played were now cold and lifeless. Jake Morrison lay on the command center floor, his vision fading as alien soldiers looted the station's technology. His last thought was of his wife back on Earth, and the message that would eventually tell her how he died. The alien fleet spent 6 hours systematically destroying Haven Station. They took what they wanted and destroyed the rest. When they finally departed, Nothing remained but scattered debris and frozen corpses drifting in the vacuum of space. Of the 847 human beings who had called Haven Station home, none survived the unprovoked attack. The alien force had completed their mission without losing a single ship. They disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only silence and death in the Tau Ceti system. Admiral Alex Turner was reviewing fleet deployment reports when the priority alert flashed on his desk terminal. The message had arrived at Luna Base through the quantum communication network, marked with the highest urgency codes. Alex opened the file and felt his world change forever. The transmission from Haven Station contained everything: sensor records of the alien fleet, tactical analysis of their weapons, and the final desperate messages from Captain Morrison's crew. Dr. Parker's voice echoed through the Admiral's office as the recording played. They came without provocation. They showed no mercy. Remember us. Alex played the message 3 times before calling his aide. Get me President Carter immediately, and summoned General Hayes, Admiral Ross, and the entire Defense Council. We have a situation. Within an hour, Earth's top military and political leaders were assembled in the secure briefing room beneath Luna Base. President Helen Carter looked grim as Alex presented the evidence. From Haven Station, 847 civilians, the president said quietly. Men, women, children, all dead because these aliens decided humans didn't belong in space. General Nick Hayes studied the tactical data on his tablet. As Supreme Commander of Earth Forces, he had spent his career preparing for potential alien contact. But this was worse than any scenario they had planned for. The alien technology is advanced, Nick reported. Their energy weapons are more powerful than anything in our arsenal. Their ships are larger and better armored than our best vessels. In a straight fight, we'd be severely outmatched. Admiral Amy Ross commanded Earth's Deep Space Fleet. She had served on the frontier for 20 years, and the destruction of Haven Station felt personal. How many ships did they have? 47 warships, Alex replied. And they destroyed our entire outpost without losing a single vessel. If they decide to attack Earth, we might not be able to stop them. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Humanity had always hoped that first contact with aliens would be peaceful. Instead, they had encountered a species that killed without warning or reason. President Carter turned to Dr. Elena Foster, the Director of Advanced Weapons Research. What options do we have? Can our current weapons hurt these aliens? Dr. Foster looked uncomfortable. Our plasma cannons and missile systems would probably damage their ships, but their shields and armor are very strong. We'd need overwhelming numbers to win a conventional battle. How overwhelming? The president asked. Based on this data, I estimate we'd need at least 5 human ships to destroy 1 alien vessel, maybe more. General Hayes did quick calculations on his tablet. Earth's entire fleet consists of 238 warships. If they bring a fleet of 50 ships, we'd barely have enough. If they bring more, then we lose, President Carter finished. Our home world, our colonies, everything. Dr. Foster cleared her throat. There might be another option. Something we've been working on in the research division. Project Overkill. Alex had heard rumors about classified weapons projects, but nothing specific. What is Project Overkill? A theoretical weapon system that could destroy an entire star system, Dr. Foster explained. We've been studying ways to trigger stellar collapse using quantum-charged antimatter. The idea was to create a weapon so terrible that no one would ever dare use it. The room went completely quiet. President Carter stared at the scientist. You're talking about making a star explode. A controlled supernova, yes. The quantum cascade would cause the target star to expand rapidly, then collapse. The explosion would sterilize everything within several light years. General Hayes leaned forward. How many people would die? Everyone in the target system. Billions, possibly. But it would also send a message to any other hostile aliens. Attack humanity, and we'll end your entire civilization. President Carter stood and walked to the window overlooking Earth. The blue planet hung peacefully in space, unaware of the terrible choice its leaders were contemplating. This goes against everything we believe in. We'd be committing genocide. They started it, Admiral Ross said quietly. They killed our people without warning, without mercy. Every human child on Haven Station died because these aliens decided we don't have the right to exist. Dr. Foster opened another file on her tablet. I should mention that we'd need to find their homeworld first. The weapon only works against stellar targets and it requires precise placement within the star's corona. What would that take? Alex asked. A deep strike mission. One ship specially modified to survive stellar radiation. The crew would have to penetrate their home system undetected and deploy the device. President Carter returned to her seat. This is the most terrible decision any human leader has ever faced. If we do this, we become killers on a scale never before imagined. If we don't, these aliens might return and destroy Earth. Commander Ben Walsh had been listening quietly from the back of the room. As a veteran of frontier patrol missions, he understood the stakes better than most. Madam President, I volunteer to lead the mission. Ben, we haven't even decided if there will be a mission, Alex said. Sir, with respect, we don't have a choice. These aliens proved they're willing to commit genocide against humans. The only question is whether we're willing to stop them. General Hayes pulled up star charts on the main display. According to our deep space probes, there are several alien civilizations within 50 light-years of Earth. We don't know which one attacked Haven Station. We'll have to find out, Dr. Foster said. The mission team would need to gather intelligence on alien space, locate their homeworld, and then deploy the weapon. President Carter looked around the room at her advisors. These were good people faced with an impossible choice. How long would the mission take? At least a year, Ben replied. Maybe longer depending on how far we have to search. And the crew? Small team. Navigator, weapons specialist, engineer. All volunteers who understand they probably won't come home. Alex studied the tactical reports again. The alien attack had been swift and merciless. There had been no attempt at communication, no warning, no chance for surrender. They had simply arrived and killed every human they found. What about other solutions? The president asked. Diplomacy? Economic pressure? Anything that doesn't involve mass murder? We don't even know how to contact them, Admiral Ross pointed out.
And based on their actions at Haven Station, they're not interested in talking. Dr. Foster activated a holographic display showing the weapon design.
The Nova device is about the size of a basketball. Once deployed in a star's corona, it would take approximately 47 minutes to trigger stellar collapse. 47 minutes, President Carter repeated. That's how long an entire civilization would have left to live. Ben Walsh stepped forward. Madam President, those 847 people on Haven Station had about 6 hours. Children hiding in closets while alien soldiers hunted them. Families torn apart as their escape pods were shot down. They died alone and afraid, far from home. The president closed her eyes, weighing the lives of Haven Station's victims against the billions who would die if they deployed the Nova weapon. General Hayes, what's your assessment of the threat to Earth? If these aliens decide we're a problem, they could assemble a fleet large enough to overwhelm our defenses. Our colonies would fall first, then Earth itself. We're talking about the potential extinction of humanity. President Carter stood again, her decision made. Dr. Foster, you have authorization to prepare Project Overkill for deployment. Commander Walsh, select your team and begin mission planning. God help us all. As the meeting broke up, Alex found himself alone with the president. Helen, are we doing the right thing? I don't know, she replied honestly. But I know that doing nothing guarantees more dead humans. Maybe we can find another way. Maybe they'll see reason. But if not, we make sure they never threaten humanity again. The president nodded. Begin preparations for the mission, and Alex, make sure our people understand what they're volunteering for. This isn't just a military operation. It's a decision that will define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The UES Retribution drifted silently through the void, its experimental stealth systems hiding it from alien sensors. Commander Ben Walsh floated in the zero-gravity command center, studying the holographic star charts that surrounded him. 8 months of searching had finally led them here. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, whispered Lieutenant Amy Ross from the navigation station. It's a Zephyrian patrol squadron. 3 ships, heavy cruiser class. Ben activated the passive sensors and watched the alien vessels pass less than 1,000,000 kilometers away. The Retribution's advanced stealth technology made it invisible to their scanners, but one mistake would mean death for his small crew. Sergeant Tony Garcia monitored the weapon systems from his station. The ship carried the Nova device in a specially shielded compartment, along with conventional weapons for self-defense. They're moving away from us, sir. We're clear. Chief Petty Officer Dana Cruz worked quietly at the engineering console, constantly adjusting the stealth field generators. The prototype systems required constant attention to remain stable. Stealth holding steady, Commander. But we're drawing a lot of power. Ben nodded and returned his attention to the star charts. They had spent months infiltrating Zephyrian space, using captured communication codes from Haven Station to move undetected. The mission had been dangerous from the start, but the intelligence they gathered was invaluable. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 12 star systems and maintained a massive military fleet. Their ships were powerful and numerous, but Ben's team had learned that they were also overconfident. The aliens believed themselves superior to all other species in the galaxy. Amy, show me the tactical breakdown again, Ben said. Lieutenant Ross activated the main display, showing their current location in the HFY system. Zeptar Prime is the fourth planet, population approximately 4.7 billion. The planet is heavily defended by orbital platforms and a permanent fleet of 83 warships. Any changes in their patrol patterns? None that I can detect. They've maintained the same defensive posture for the past 6 months. Either they're very disciplined or they don't expect any threats. Ben studied the enemy positions. A conventional assault on Zeptar Prime would be suicide. Even if Earth's entire fleet attacked at once, they would be outnumbered and outgunned. The Nova weapon was humanity's only chance. Dr. Foster's device was designed to trigger stellar collapse in the system's primary star, HFY 4. The weapon had to be deployed within the star's corona, where the intense radiation would mask its approach. It was a one-way mission for any ship attempting the deployment. Tony, what's the status on the weapon modifications? Sergeant Garcia pulled up the technical specifications on his screen. The Nova device is ready for deployment. Chief Cruz has modified our engines to survive the stellar radiation long enough to reach the corona. We'll have maybe 20 minutes inside the star's outer atmosphere. That's cutting it close, Dana said from her station. The quantum shields will hold, but just barely. If anything goes wrong with the engines, we won't make it out. Ben had handpicked his crew for this mission. Amy Ross was the best navigator in the fleet, capable of plotting hyperspace jumps through the most dangerous regions of space. Tony Garcia was an expert on exotic weapon systems and had helped design the Nova device. Dana Cruz was a brilliant engineer who could keep any ship running under impossible conditions. They were also volunteers who understood they probably would not survive the mission. Earth needed the Zephyrian homeworld destroyed, and they were willing to pay any price to accomplish that goal. Commander, Amy said, I'm picking up a priority transmission from the Zephyrian Fleet Command. Want me to decode it? Go ahead. Amy's fingers moved across her console as she processed the alien communication. The team had learned the Zephyrian language during their infiltration mission, and their computer systems could translate most messages. It's a promotion ceremony, Amy reported. Admiral Kexitar has been assigned to command the home fleet. There's also mention of their successful pest extermination operation in the Tau Ceti system. Ben felt his jaw clench. The aliens were celebrating the massacre at Haven Station like it was a military victory. 847 innocent people had been murdered, and these creatures treated it as a joke. Any other intelligence? Ben asked. Tony had been monitoring Zephyrian military communications for weeks. They're planning a major expansion into human space. At least 200 ships are being assembled for what they call a final solution to the human problem. The implications were clear. The attack on Haven Station had been just the beginning. The Zephyrians intended to wipe out humanity completely, starting with the outer colonies and working their way toward Earth. Dana looked up from her engineering console. Sir, if they're massing that many ships, Earth doesn't stand a chance. Our entire fleet would be outnumbered 10-1. Then we make sure they never get the chance to launch that attack, Ben replied. The Retribution continued its silent approach toward HFY 4. The star was a yellow giant, larger and hotter than Earth's sun. Deploying the Nova device would require precise timing and navigation. They would have one chance to get it right. Amy, how long until we reach the deployment point? 47 hours at current speed. The next patrol sweep will pass our approach vector in 12 hours, so we'll need to adjust course slightly. Ben studied the mission parameters one more time. The Nova device would take 47 minutes to trigger stellar collapse once deployed. That would give them just enough time to reach minimum safe distance if everything went perfectly. What about evacuation possibilities? Dana asked quietly. For the civilians on Zeptar Prime, I mean. The question hung in the air like a weight. Ben had been trying not to think about the billions of innocent Zephyrians who would die when their star exploded. Many of them probably had nothing to do with the attack on Haven Station. "There won't be time," Ben said finally. "Even if we warned them, they couldn't evacuate 4.7 billion people in 47 minutes. Tony's voice was grim. "They didn't give our people any warning either. Remember the footage from Haven Station? Children running through corridors while alien soldiers hunted them." Amy pulled up the final transmission from Dr. Parker. His dying words echoed through the command center. "They came without provocation. They showed no mercy. Remember us." "The Zephyrians made their choice when they attacked Haven Station," Ben said. "We're just making sure they can't make that choice again." The moral weight of their mission was enormous. They were about to commit genocide on a scale never before imagined. An entire civilization would be wiped out in minutes, but the alternative was the extinction of humanity. "Commander," Dana said, "I've been thinking about the technical aspects of the deployment. Once we're inside the star's corona, communication with the outside will be impossible. We'll be completely on our own." "Understood. Are the systems ready?" "As ready as they can be. The quantum shields will protect us from the radiation, and the modified engines should get us to the deployment point. After that," she shrugged. Ben looked around at his crew. They were brave people, willing to sacrifice themselves for the survival of their species. In a few hours, they would penetrate the most dangerous region of space in the galaxy and deploy a weapon that would end an entire world. "Get some rest, everyone. Tomorrow we finish what the Zephyrians started at Haven Station." As the Retribution continued its approach toward Cepheus 4, the crew prepared for their final mission. Somewhere ahead, Admiral Kekstar commanded the defense fleet, unaware that his homeworld had less than 2 days left to exist. The hunt was almost over. The U.S. Retribution approached Cepheus 4 like a ghost, its stealth systems pushed to maximum power. Commander Ben Walsh watched the star grow larger on the main screen, its yellow surface churning with massive solar flares that could instantly vaporize his ship. Entering the outer corona in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Amy Ross reported from the navigation station. Her hands moved steadily over the controls, guiding them through the most dangerous approach in human history. Chief Dana Cruz monitored the quantum shields from her engineering station. "Shield generators at full power." Hull temperature rising, but we're still within acceptable limits. Ben checked the mission chronometer. They had been inside Zephyrian space for 8 months, gathering intelligence and waiting for this moment. In 47 minutes, an entire star system would cease to exist. "Contacts on the perimeter," Sergeant Tony Garcia announced. "Admiral Kekstar's flagship and 2 escort vessels. They're maintaining standard patrol formation." Ben studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian ships were massive compared to the Retribution, but they had no idea a human vessel was approaching their home star. The aliens' overconfidence would be their downfall. "Time to deployment point?" 17 minutes, Amy replied. "The stellar radiation is interfering with our sensors, but navigation is holding steady." The Retribution dove deeper into the star's corona, surrounded by temperatures that would melt any normal spacecraft. The quantum shields flickered and strained against the incredible energy, but they held. Dana's modifications were working perfectly. "Hull stress approaching critical levels," Dana reported. "We're at the absolute limit of what the ship can handle." Ben felt sweat dripping down his face despite the ship's climate control. The command center was growing uncomfortably warm as the star's heat penetrated their defenses. "How much further?" 12 minutes to optimal deployment depth, Amy said. "The weapon needs to be placed precisely in the star's fusion core for maximum effect." Tony armed the Nova device, a basketball-sized sphere containing enough weaponized dark matter to destabilize an entire star. "Weapon systems ready. Once we deploy this thing, there's no stopping what happens next." The moral weight of their mission pressed down on everyone. In less than an hour, they would kill billions of innocent people. But the alternative was letting the Zephyrians launch their planned assault on human space. "Commander," Dana called out, "I'm reading massive energy buildup in the star's core. The weapon deployment might trigger earlier solar activity. Will that affect the mission?" "Unknown. The star might become unstable before we can escape to safe distance." Ben made his decision. "We proceed as planned. Earth is counting on us." The Retribution continued its descent toward the star's core, where nuclear fusion released the energy of thousands of hydrogen bombs every second. Through the observation ports, the crew could see massive solar prominences arcing through space like bridges of fire. "Contact," Amy suddenly announced. "Zephyrian patrol ship bearing 18 Mark 7. They're moving to intercept." On the tactical display, a sleek alien vessel was accelerating toward their position. Somehow the Zephyrians had detected the Retribution despite its stealth systems. "How did they find us?" Tony asked. "The stellar radiation must have disrupted our stealth field," Dana replied. "We're partially visible to their sensors now." The alien ship was small but fast, designed for patrol work within the star system. Its weapons were already charging for an attack run. 8 minutes to deployment point, Amy reported. "We need to hold them off until we can launch the weapon." Ben activated the ship's defensive systems. "Tony, prepare to engage. Dana, give me everything the engines have." The Zephyrian patrol ship opened fire, sending energy beams slicing through the star's corona. The shots passed close to the Retribution, superheating the surrounding plasma into brilliant flares. Tony returned fire with the ship's plasma cannons. The human weapons were less powerful than Zephyrian systems, but they were accurate. One shot struck the alien vessel's port engine, sending it spinning out of control. "Direct hit," Tony announced, "but they're transmitting a distress signal. The entire defense fleet will know we're here soon." Ben checked the chronometer again. 6 minutes to deployment. "Can we make it?" "Cutting it very close," Amy replied. "I'm reading multiple contacts approaching from the outer system. At least 20 ships." Admiral Kextar's voice suddenly echoed through the command center as their communication system intercepted an alien transmission. The Zephyrian commander was ordering his fleet to destroy the human intruders at any cost. "He sounds angry," Dana observed. "Probably doesn't like uninvited guests in his home system." 4 minutes to deployment point, Amy announced. "The approaching fleet will reach us in approximately 6 minutes. Ben did the math in his head. They would have less than 2 minutes to deploy the weapon and begin their escape before the Zephyrian fleet arrived. It would be the closest possible margin for success. "There," Amy pointed at the main display, "the optimal deployment point. Dead center of the star's fusion core. Through the quantum shields, they could see the heart of Cepheus 4, a churning mass of nuclear fire that powered an entire star system. In a few minutes, Dr. Foster's weapon would turn that controlled fusion into an unstoppable chain reaction." "Deploying weapon," Ben announced. He personally activated the launch sequence, sending the Nova device toward its target. The small sphere disappeared into the star's core, where it would burrow deep into the fusion zone. "Weapon deployed successfully," Tony reported. "Timer is running. 47 minutes until stellar collapse. All ahead full," Ben ordered. "Get us out of here." The Retribution turned away from the star and accelerated toward open space. Behind them, the first ships of Admiral Kextar's fleet were entering the corona, their weapons searching for the human intruders. "Contact, bearing 32 Mark 1, Amy called out. Zephyrian heavy cruiser closing fast. The enemy ship was much larger than the Retribution and heavily armed. Energy beams lanced out toward the human vessel, forcing Amy to execute evasive maneuvers that pushed their engines to the breaking point. "Return fire," Ben ordered. Tony launched their remaining missiles at the Zephyrian cruiser. The weapons struck the alien ship's shields but failed to penetrate. The enemy vessel continued its pursuit, firing repeatedly. "Shields down to 40%, Dana reported. "We can't take much more of this." More Zephyrian ships were converging on their position. Admiral Kextar had deployed his entire fleet to stop the human vessel, but it was too late. The Nova device was already in position, counting down to detonation. 32 minutes until stellar collapse, Tony announced. The Retribution raced through space, pursued by dozens of alien warships. Energy beams filled the void around them as the Zephyrians fired everything they had. One shot grazed the ship's hull, causing explosions throughout the engineering section. "Hull breach on deck 4, Dana called out. "Sealing emergency bulkheads." Ben watched the tactical display as more enemy ships joined the pursuit. The Zephyrians were throwing everything they had at the single human vessel, but they still didn't understand what was really happening. 28 minutes until stellar collapse, Tony reported. On Jepter Prime, billions of Zephyrians were going about their daily lives, unaware that their world had less than half an hour left to exist. In the planet's capital city, government officials were probably planning the final assault on human space. 15 minutes until minimum safe distance, Amy announced. "We might actually make it." A massive explosion rocked the ship as a Zephyrian plasma torpedo found its target. The lights flickered and several control panels went dark. Direct hit to the engine section, Dana reported. We're losing power. I don't think we can reach safe distance in time. Ben looked around at his crew. They had accomplished their mission, but they might not survive to see the results. How long until the star goes nova? 18 minutes, Tony replied. And how long to reach minimum safe distance at our current speed? Amy checked her calculations. 22 minutes. We're not going to make it, sir. Ben nodded grimly. They had known from the beginning that this was probably a one-way mission. At least they had completed their objective. Humanity would be safe from Zephyrian aggression. Keep trying, he ordered. Maybe we'll get lucky. The pursuit continued as the Retribution limped through space on damaged engines. Behind them, Admiral Kekstar's flagship was gaining ground, its massive weapons charging for a final attack. 10 minutes until stellar collapse, Tony announced. On the main screen, Cepheus 4 appeared normal, still burning with the steady light that had warmed Jupiter Prime for millions of years. But deep in its core, Dr. Foster's weapon was working its terrible magic, destabilizing the fusion process that kept the star stable. 5 minutes until stellar collapse. The Zephyrian flagship opened fire with everything it had. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space around the Retribution. Amy performed desperate evasive maneuvers, but the enemy fire was too intense. Multiple hull breaches, Dana reported. I'm losing life support on 3 decks. 2 minutes until stellar collapse. Ben watched Cepheus 4 on the main screen, waiting for the first signs of instability. The star would expand rapidly as its core collapsed, then explode in a supernova that would be visible from other galaxies.